Well, I'm glad Stephen got us moving, got us awake. As he mentioned, my name is Stephanie. I work as the dietitian over at the Gathering Place. I recognize some faces out there. For those of you who I haven't met, hello. As he supplied, we'll be talking around the impact of nutrition on prostate cancer. But before we discuss prostate cancer specifically, I want to review the role of nutrition in cancer care total. So diet alone cannot be used as treatment for cancer, but diet can be used to help manage side effects, to provide and support energy levels and lean body mass, offer those required nutrients for healing and repair, help improve quality of life, allow you to maintain your treatment regimens, and can reduce risk of new cancer diagnoses and other chronic disease. So today I want to look at how diet can be considered specifically for prostate cancer treatment, some research looking at nutrition as a whole and risk of prostate cancer, and then what a plate might look like to support your health as prostate cancer survivors. Now, when it comes to nutrition during treatment, I like to break it down into chapters because what you eat before treatment might look different from how you eat during your cancer treatment chapter. And again, that might look even different to how you eat after treatment. So I want to dive right into that during treatment chapter. So here I'm going to talk through some nutrition tips that can be used for surgery, radiation, and ADT, and again, how you can use nutrition as one of those tools in your toolbox to support your health. So for surgery, for procedures such as a radical prostatectomy, there are certain nutrients that are elevated that are important to help support the healing and repair process. Some of these nutrients include protein, zinc, vitamin A, and vitamin C. Zinc you'll find in your nuts, seeds, beans, lentils. These are also foods that provide protein. Vitamin A and vitamin C both have antioxidant properties, and you'll find those primarily in your fruits and vegetables. For vitamin A, particularly those that are bright reds, bright yellows, bright greens. Think right now in our fall-winter season, winter squash is widely available. That bright orange you see in a lot of winter squash is going to provide a source of vitamin A. Now, immediately following surgery, you may be told to consume a light diet or perhaps just liquids until bowel function returns. This might look like broths, water, maybe some Jell-O. If you're on a regular diet immediately following a procedure, your appetite might not be 100% until, again, your digestive system kind of wakes up. So at that point, it might be most comfortable to consume foods that aren't quite as heavy, maybe a piece of toast, scrambled egg, applesauce, until, again, bowel function fully returns. Now, let's say surgery isn't part of your treatment plan, but perhaps radiation is. Now, with radiation can come nutrition impact symptoms such as rectal urgency and loose stools. For turning to nutrition as a tool, it can be helpful to modify fat and fiber in your diet. And we're also going to talk a little bit around probiotics. So when it comes to fiber, not all fiber is the same. There's actually a few different types of fiber. We have soluble fiber, which is also called viscous fiber. This can form a gel in the intestinal tract and can help slow digestion down a bit. Fermentable fiber, these fibers work as food for that bacteria in your gut. Fermentable fiber, as the name suggests, can ferment in your intestinal tract, and that can lead to some gas. Then we have insoluble or bulking fiber. This type of fiber is stool normalizing. It's most often thought to be helpful to relieve constipation, but it can also help firm up loose stools. So when it comes to soluble or viscous fiber, this might be an option that can be a little bit better tolerated if you're dealing with loose stool and rectal urgency. Maybe that's some oatmeal, maybe it's a cup of applesauce. Other sources include barley, think maybe some barley soup. Oranges, eggplants, winter squash, and chia seeds are also sources of soluble fiber. Now, fermentable fiber foods, again, can lead to gas. So these fiber options may be a little bit harder on your body if you're dealing with rectal urgency and loose stool. Now, a big source of fermentable fiber comes from beans and lentils. Again, you might be thinking, well, yeah, I do notice a lot of gas after eating beans and lentils. It might be helpful to limit this until some of those symptoms are resolved. Other foods that contain fermentable fibers include asparagus, more of your unripe or green bananas, garlic, onions. And again, you might be thinking, well, I haven't really noticed any gas from garlic in my food. That's okay. It's not something that you have to avoid, but try to identify, are there certain foods that do produce more gas in your body that would be helpful to avoid until those symptoms are resolved. Finally, our bulking or insoluble fiber sources, you'll notice, share similar to our soluble, again, apples and pears. Bulking fiber is largely found in most vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, and grains as well. So here it's not limiting altogether, but finding what works best for you. When it comes to vegetable intake, if you have loose stools, a big leafy green salad might not feel the best on your system. So rather choosing cooked and soft, tender vegetables, perhaps skipping the kale or cauliflower or broccoli, that gives you a little bit more gas, and sticking to maybe roasted carrots or green beans, that might be easier to digest. Now, if you're on or using proton therapy as a specific radiation treatment for prostate cancer, your doctors may suggest a low-fiber diet to help reduce gas in your system so the treatment works as effective as possible. So again, a lower fiber diet here might be useful in the short term, especially those fiber foods that produce more gas. Other strategies to help reduce gas for proton therapy are to limit drinking out of straws. When you drink out of a straw, you end up swallowing a little extra air that may lead to gas. Avoiding carbonated and alcohol beverages. Avoid chewing gum, similar to the concept with straws. When you chew gum, you end up swallowing a little bit more air. And limiting sugar alcohols, which can also lead to gas in many people. These include sorbitol, mannitol, xylitol as a few examples, and are typically found in your sugar-free products. Now what about fat? As we said, modify fiber and fat in the diet. So here, excess fat can exacerbate diarrhea. So I'm not talking about skipping the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm talking about avoiding very greasy foods, and often fast food can trigger some digestive stress. Here, it might be also helpful to opt for lean cuts of meat and choose low-fat or non-fat dairy options. And then what about probiotics? So there's research to suggest that specific strains of probiotics, such as lactobacilli or bifidobacteria, can be helpful when dealing with loose stools and rectal urgency. However, when it comes to probiotic supplements, as a dietitian, I recommend a foods-first approach. Not only because supplements aren't regulated, but it may not be appropriate for you based on other health considerations. So it's really important to run this by your team if you're interested. From a foods-first approach, options like Greek yogurt or kefir, fermented yogurt drink, do provide some of those live cultures that provide the lactobacilli or bifidobacteria blend that might be helpful. So the last treatment that I want to review in terms of how to use nutrition as a tool is ADT. There's many side effects that nutrition can be helpful to utilize when it comes to ADT. One being bone loss. Now, Stephen talked about how exercise can help strengthen bones. When it comes to nutrition, ensuring adequate stores of calcium and vitamin D can also be helpful. For the side effects of decreased insulin sensitivity, essentially your body not being able to utilize insulin appropriately to regulate blood sugar control, and elevated lipids or elevated cholesterol, it's important to hone in on carbohydrate intake. So rather than, again, going right to that candy bowl from Halloween, choosing carbohydrate foods that are higher in fiber, like your whole grains, your fruits, your beans, and lentils, are helpful. Also, looking at fat stores when it comes to elevated cholesterol. So rather than your saturated fat found in meat and dairy products, opting for more plant fats like olive oil, nuts, seeds, avocados. The last side effects I want to review, hot flashes, sarcopenia, and anemia here. Hot flashes, no one likes them. Here, for nutrition, consider limiting caffeine, alcohol, hot beverages, and very spicy foods. So rather than opting for the sriracha or the red pepper flakes when you're having dinner, perhaps season your food with cumin, oregano, basil. There's a lot of different herbs and spices out there that will add that flavor without necessarily that heat. Also helpful here to look at your beverage intake rather than that cup of coffee in the morning. Maybe you swap that out for a smoothie. Maybe you're doing flavored water instead of caffeine or alcohol throughout the day. Sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass. Again, utilizing exercise here when it comes to nutrition, adequate protein is important. And then anemia, especially iron-deficient anemia, maximizing iron absorption. Iron can be found in foods such as red meat, but also a lot of plant options. For example, dried fruit like raisins, fortified cream of wheat, stewed tomatoes can provide a source of iron as well, lentils and beans in addition to that. So I recognize that not everyone who has a prostate cancer diagnosis may be utilizing surgery, radiation, or ADT. So what's some information that you can take home? So when it comes to nutrition research and prostate cancer, I want to review a little bit more around the quality of evidence we have around diet factors. Before talking about any nutrition research, I want to review just how complicated nutrition science can be. Here I have a graphic identifying different levels of evidence when it comes to research. At the bottom of our pyramid, we have research from animal and lab studies. So when research is done around nutrition in animals or a laboratory setting like a cell culture, the results from these studies can be important for scientists to evaluate, to know what to further study for human health, but the results cannot be translated for humans. When it comes to the next portion of our pyramid, case reports and expert opinions, these are some really smart people analyzing some data, but it's not necessarily a study. There's no design. Perhaps there's not even humans involved. So again, it's a direction of where research might take us, but quality, as far as quality and strength of evidence, is still pretty weak. Finally, our next three boxes, we get into human studies. So observational studies take a look at a large group of humans, looking either forward in time or backward in time, and how certain components of diet may affect health risk. Here, again, we're going to translate that specifically into prostate cancer. And then randomized controlled trials are the gold star when it comes to research endeavors. With randomized controlled trials, we can actually test cause and effect, whereas observational studies are more a pattern of risk but not cause and effect. At the very tippy top, we see clinical practice guidelines and systematic reviews. Systematic reviews are when scientists take a whole bunch of the studies below and look at the data all together, the results all together, and do a statistical analysis to form those clinical practice guidelines. We are going to look today at a systematic review and meta-analysis from the World Cancer Research Fund. The World Cancer Research Fund is an international organization that evaluates diet, physical activity, and body composition on the risk for different cancer diagnoses. In 2014, they conducted a continuous update project looking at prostate cancer specifically, and this was updated and revised in 2018. So here you can see from the chart that they have strong evidence linking body fatness and adult attained height to increased risk, and then limited suggestive evidence regarding dairy products, diets high in calcium, and low plasma levels of certain nutrients. So we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into what this might mean for you. Again, when it comes to managing a diagnosis, this information may be pertinent to your before treatment chapter or your after treatment chapter. When it comes to body composition, studies in the systematic review, again, we're talking this highest quality of evidence, looking at a few different measurements, waist to hip, waist circumference, and BMI, found a statistically significant increased risk for advanced prostate cancer. Statistically significant means that this is likely not just due to chance. Now, here I want to make the point that the results were found for advanced prostate cancer, not total prostate cancer or non-advanced. Mechanisms here, researchers aren't quite certain, but perhaps it may be related to fat tissue and the composition of fat tissue and how that influences hormones and growth factors. Fat tissue may also promote a state of low-grade inflammation. That may be related to this association. Again, no conclusion, however, can be drawn relating to total or non-advanced prostate cancer at this time. So what does this mean as far as nutrition action? How can you take this information home? Really working towards how can you utilize health-promoting behaviors to best support or maintain a body weight that's healthy for you. That might look like setting reachable goals if you're looking at weight loss. A slow and steady rate of weight loss in the long term is more beneficial than a quick drop, yo-yoing back and leading to more weight gain. There's no one diet that best supports weight loss. It's really what someone can find sustainable. So there's not a recommendation for a low-carb, low-fat, high protein. It's really what you can utilize to best support your health and make it sustainable. An approach that I often use is called volumetrics, where you feel most satisfied using foods that keep you full for longest, like fiber from whole grains and fruits and vegetables, as well as lean proteins. Now, again, we just heard Stephen. Nutrition is one piece of the puzzle here. Aside from diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep hygiene are also important for this goal. So going down into our limited suggestive evidence, I want to walk through, again, what this means, because it's confusing around dairy in particular. Dairy, is it a friend or a foe of prostate cancer? Now, looking at the studies in the systematic review, the researchers found a dose response. So there was a statistically significant increase of prostate cancer per 400 grams of dairy per day. Now, I had to look a little bit more into that because 400 grams, what does that even mean? That equates to about 2 cups of milk, 13 1-ounce servings of cheese, and about 2.5 servings of 6-ounce portions of yogurt. Looking closer at milk consumption, the researchers found no significant association per 200 grams of milk per day, which is about that 1 cup of milk. So let's talk a little bit more around mechanisms of why there may be an association with dairy and increased risk for prostate cancer. Some turn to the calcium intake. High calcium diets may downregulate vitamin D. Growth factor in milk in particular is associated with increased risk of prostate cancer. And many studies show a positive trend towards prostate cancer risk and high saturated fat intake often found in dairy as well as meat. Now, this saturated fat relationship has not yet been identified in the systematic review from the World Cancer Research Fund. So what's the take-home point here? Dairy, is it a friend or a foe when it comes to prostate health? What I recommend is looking at your consumption amount of dairy. Again, look that 400 gram threshold. Rather than drinking 8 cups of milk per day, stick to 1, right? There was no association found with that 1 cup of milk. And also look at the fat content. So dairy can be a great source of protein, but rather than choosing whole milk or full-fat yogurt, opt for low-fat or non-fat options. That way you're maximizing your benefit around protein intake and also reducing that saturated fat content. Now, if you're grocery shopping and you've picked up your, let's say, low-fat cottage cheese or your non-fat Greek yogurt, you'll often come next to the eggs, right? So eggs, I get a lot of question around prostate cancer as well. Eggs are high in a nutrient called choline, and there's been increased choline concentration found in prostate cancer cells. So it might be, thought, okay, should I decrease my egg consumption and reduce that choline amount? The meta-analysis found no association between egg consumption and risk for prostate cancer. So when it comes to eggs, looking at, again, what is that variety you can get in your diet? If you're eating 8 eggs a day, it's a lot of eggs. Can you switch it up and perhaps include, let's say, an egg omelet one day for breakfast, and the next day maybe you opt for some oatmeal breakfast tacos. So it's really that variety that's so important. But I don't want you to fear eggs since there is no association found at this time. Following the dairy and calcium, you saw that there was an association regarding alpha tocopherol and selenium. Alpha tocopherol, what the heck is that, right? It's vitamin E, a form of vitamin E. Both alpha tocopherol and selenium have antioxidant properties, and it was seen that low blood levels of these nutrients may increase risk for prostate cancer. One study, called the SELECT study, took this idea and said, well, what if we supplement vitamin E and selenium? Researchers were floored when they found that supplementation of these nutrients was not actually protective, but in fact, increased risk for prostate cancer for the men in this study. When it comes to supplements, very low or very high blood levels may be harmful. What's appropriate is looking at that moderate amount. And dose is really what matters. So in this study, for example, the men were consuming vitamin E supplements that was a much higher amount of vitamin E that they would consume naturally in diet. For vitamin E, your main sources of vitamin E come from your nuts and seeds. Now, time and time again, studies that have examined anti-cancer benefits of single nutrients have produced neutral results or no benefit from studies. So turning to diet first over supplementation is key. So when it comes to diet and prostate cancer survivorship, what I encourage is a plant-predominant diet. So when I say plant-predominant or plant-based, I don't mean a strict vegan or vegetarian diet, but how can you include more fruits, more vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, beans, lentils on your plate to capture that rainbow? So of a plant-predominant diet, I wanted to highlight 4 phytonutrients that come up again in the research around prostate cancer specifically. Now, there's not enough evidence at this point to include them in that strong category of the meta-analysis, but there's many studies out there showing there may be a protective benefit regarding indoles, organosulfur compounds, isoflavones, and lycopene. Lycopene being one that I'm sure many people in the audience are already aware of. Indoles you'll get from your cruciferous vegetables. These will be your broccoli, cauliflower, kale. Organosulfur compounds, your garlic, leek, onions, isoflavones in your whole soy, like tempeh and edamame, and lycopene in your tomato products, and also fruits like watermelon and guava. Guava is not so common here in Cleveland, but thought I'd add it in there in case we have any guava fans in the audience. But we don't eat phytonutrients, right? We don't think about our plates in terms of phytonutrient content. We think about food. So I have here some examples of what your plate might look like in supporting your health as prostate cancer survivors. So for breakfast, again, you know that there's no association regarding egg consumption and prostate cancer. You feel confident in knowing, yes, I'm going to enjoy my eggs in the morning. I have a 2-egg omelet with some tomatoes and spinach, because you got to get those colors in, right? With a side of orange as your serving of fruit, and then for some protein and probiotic benefit to help keep you feeling full, some non-fat Greek yogurt. Now, this omelet was cooked in olive oil. Olive oil, being one of those plant fats, can also help improve absorption of fat-soluble compounds, one of which is lycopene. So enjoying olive oil in meals can be a health booster. Lunch, maybe you opt for a bean-based chili. Again, beans providing that plant-based source of fiber, protein and fiber. All fiber is plant-based. In that chili, maybe you include ground turkey or ground chicken, swapping out your red meat and processed meat for lean options like ground chicken and ground turkey have been found to be beneficial for health. We have whole wheat bread and then a side of veggies. Here I picked those bright orange carrots. Snack, we're opting for an apple, again, another source of fruit. And we have some trail mix made from dry roasted edamame, pumpkin seeds, and walnuts. Maybe you just like walnuts, that's fine too. And then finally, dinner. You can opt for some salmon, other fish, maybe you prefer chicken, but we have here some roasted sweet potatoes and broccoli, as well as a side salad to ensure that, again, you're getting that variety of phytonutrients in on your plate. Now, to put this, again, into practice for yourself, you can utilize recipes from the American Institute for Cancer Research. This is the United States branch of the World Cancer Research Fund. And there's also a website called Cook for Your Life that has recipes specific for cancer survivors. On both of these sources, you'll find blog articles and well as more nutrition facts and information. But as Stephen mentioned, at the Gathering Place, we offer a ton of support as well, and so you can join one of our nutrition programs like our cooking classes or nutrition presentations where you'll learn more about how to utilize diet to support your health as a cancer survivor. And that's it. We got my references now.
Everyone always asks about water, and for some people that's really a challenge to drink enough water. So what's the current recommendations on this, how much we should drink every day?
Yeah. There's actually a lot of different equations when it comes to estimating your specific fluid needs. A quick one is to take your body weight and divide it by 2, and that is the amount of fluid, I'll say in ounces, that is recommended, because there's water, yes, is best for hydration, but there's water in fruits and vegetables as well. Think your soup broth, there's water in there. Yogurt, there's water in there. So you'll get water from a number of places, but when you're thinking ounces, you can divide your weight in half.
What if you just don't feel like you're thirsty? Any strategies on that to keep hydrated?
Keeping your water with you or beverage all the time is helpful so that you don't have an excuse that, oh, I left my water on the counter. Whether it's a small mini water bottle or a big jug, it's always helpful to have something nearby so that you can take small sips throughout the day.
Good. Any questions from the group today? Yes. Please.
Yeah, so there's, looking at mushrooms, there's certain mushrooms that are called adaptogens, which can, the thought is they can help reduce stress in the body. I'm not aware of any studies looking specifically at prostate cancer, but from these adaptogens, it's thought to reduce oxidative stress, which might be helpful in protecting cells from damage. But with mushroom powders, again, they would fall more in that dietary supplement realm, so looking at making sure there's a quality product that you trust taking.
And lots of people ask about hot flashes, and I don't want to take a drug for that, but, you know, supplements. Is there any supplement you would say definitely don't try for hot flashes? Any, warnings?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot.
Okay, sorry.
You know, with supplements, they seem, I would say, harmless, but I would caution, since again they're not regulated. What I would recommend as a supplement for hot flashes is supplemental exercise. So exercise, there is research to show that that can help manage hot flashes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a big question. You know, does sugar feed cancer? I'm going to, bottom line, no. But let's break it down. So similar to how Stephen made the analogy of, you want to fill your car, your body, your machine with the best fuel, that's how to approach sugar as well. So if your accelerator is broken, that is the cancer. Just letting it run out of sugar or energy or fuel isn't going to fix the issue, right? Your accelerator is still broken. Getting that car to a mechanic, getting treatment, that is going to fix or resolve that issue. When it comes to fuel, you want to fuel your body with the best nutrition that you can to support your health during, before, and after treatment. So when it comes to sugar, soda, candy, cookies, cake, it has a place for enjoyment, but that doesn't often give us the best nutrition opportunity. So choosing fruits, whole grains, beans, lentils, again, milk and dairy have sugar in it too. That's going to provide your body with a lot of benefit in keeping your healthy cells healthy and allowing you to maintain your treatment regimens.
All right. Thank you to Stephen and Stephanie. I'll clap in here.